Right. Is it going to be a repeat of Edgbaston in Eden Gardens? The reason I say that, we all remember that 213 and there and thereabouts. 212 is what South Africa have got today, courtesy of fantastic article by David Miller, Killer Miller. My name's Avni Shaikh. You're watching the Mid-Innings show, second semi-final, South Africa and Australia, and the Rainbow Nation, which is, of course, South Africa. What the hell is their relationship with the rain and World Cup knockouts? I still can't make sense of it. Our manager Somesh is saying, yeah, it's just maybe destiny, it's rotten luck, and all of that. Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Right, Nikhil Popat, where do we stand at the halfway mark? 212, 213 required for the Aussies to win it. Can they get it, sir?
Yeah, Australia can chase it. They'll back themselves to chase. Conditions aren't that difficult, so to speak, because you know the target, so you can plan better. What I'm very, very interested to see is how do they go with the ball in the first 10 in terms of South Africa? I think they have to go the way how India did with England in terms of depending a score like that. So South Africa will take it after 24 from 4th. It is something to bowl at. Miller also felt that it's a defendable score, but the problem is Australia also know that they have to come hard in the power play, and that is South Africa's best chance to not just take a couple, but really put a lot of pressure in that first power play. Because if you allow them, the lineup is such that they will all keep going. They'll have Warner keep going, Head will keep going, Marsh will keep going. So you have to take the top three very, very early for you to have any chance. And again, that is mostly the scores in low scoring games.
Interesting. Indian Peter Pan, good to see you in the comments. Keep your questions coming through. And Gurkirat, straight off the bat, then, honestly, man, what are South Africa's chances right now?
Yeah, like Nikhil said, a lot depends on the power play. Uh, I'm, I just feel that this was a innings of what ifs for South Africa. Uh, that I still can't get that class and dismissal out of my head. I'm still somewhere stuck on that. Then I was looking at that Coetzee dismissal and I thought, yeah, I mean, should have reviewed it. Then Miller, you definitely felt that if he could bat till the last over, South Africa could have gotten to 230.
Yeah.
I feel, you know, with a little bit of luck, South Africa could have easily reached 250 here, despite losing those 3-4 early. And 250 would have genuinely meant that it would be a good game because there is help. Nikhil tweeted something about how there was help for pacers early on. If you got in, you could bat as well because there is value for shots. And then there was turn. I think after a good start also, if South Africa get two in the first 10, what is very very important today for South Africa is that their bowlers, especially two of them in Kodzi and Shamsi, they bowl with absolute control. Shamsi cannot afford to bowl like he did versus India that game. The good thing is that South Africa have been the best bowling side to left-handers. We spoke of the preview that Anirudh did, and Anirudh mentioned. I just want to pull up those numbers of how each and every South African bowler has bowled to lefties. Just let me pull that out. I had it here. Where
Go on.
did it? Yeah. So
This is Gurkirat
yeah.
really digging deep into
Sorry,
numbers.
sorry, sorry, sorry. Yeah, it took me some time. I had it open, but then I don't know what I pressed on my phone. So Janssen has an average of 10.9 versus left-handers. Rabada has 14.7. Maharaj has 14.7. Shamsi 17.7. So Ngidi is not there. Coetzee has 20.7. So we've seen Rabada more or less Rabada and Janssen will open the bowling. And if both of them could get Head and Warner in the first drive, this game is set up very well for a close finish, I believe.
Okay, let's see how that happens. Because remember, in Lucknow, when Australia and South Africa faced off each other, South Africa did get runs on the board then, but they, of course, succumbed Australia to a horrible start initially. I think they were at that point in time 4 for 56, and even if it's 4 for 56 today, it's game on. It's a World Cup game, semi-final. The scoreboard pressure will kick in. Abbas Kundi going on to ask you next. They dropped Ngidi, who has great numbers or good numbers against Warner, Marsh Smith. Your take?
I think it's also to do with his age. He's not able to complete his quota of overs in the last few games. So I think that is something that has definitely played a part there. And coach has done really well, and they were very sure of wanting to play Samshi on this wicket, and which you can see there is merit to playing. But as Paji
Yeah.
said, this isn't the day where you can afford to have a bad spell or two. This is the day where you have to get most things right. You don't have the cushion that you would have wanted to have of a score of 250 to 60. So I think uh, it has to be set up early. If they still take new ball wickets, there will still be some room to err, but you wouldn't want to take that risk with Australia today.
Rakshak Venkatesh saying South Africa choked under pressure. Indian Peter Pan, um, thinking that maybe Shamsi and Maharaj will get the best of the Aussie middle order. Remember, Zampa went wicketless, so we can't just assume that the spinners could come into play. Maybe they will come into play, but the Australian bowlers, especially the Holy Trinity, were brilliant. Stark and Hazlewood. Gurkirat, I mean, we talk about this target of 213. It pretty much came down in the first, 12, 13 overs where they were just immediately spot on with their lengths. I think they just bowled one wide. And Hazlewood in particular seemed like he was bowling in Perth on day one. Whacker, great bounce and all of that. I mean, do you think that Rabada and company can emulate what the Australian chaps have done?
See, if anything, Jansen and Rabada can both get good bounce. In fact, better bounce because the lengths that they bowl. And another thing is that they have bowled once at this venue. They've played a league game. Australia haven't. So yes, they can, but it would be they really can't afford any wides or anything. I mean, Jansen will have to be spot on from the word go. Rabada, I'm not too worried because he's bowled with a lot of control in this World Cup. So I'm hoping he can replicate that because without Rabada stepping up today, Rabada's easily the most important bowler in the sense he's the most experienced guy. All others haven't really played a World Cup, let alone a World Cup semi-final. Rabada's been there. So if Rabada starts to lose it, then I think it will bring down the confidence of the entire bowling attack down. So Rabada will really have to step up. So they can do it. I just feel the key is those first 5 overs. Those first, it's not even about the first 10. If first 5 overs they get the two openers, then they can really bring in those spinners. And this pitch is such that if you have Marsh batting versus spin, it will not be easy for him. It will not be easy for even Marnus or Smith has not got runs. So this could be, I mean, South Africa really need to have the belief in themselves that they can do it. With if they have a bit of luck, I mean, it is possible. And I see some comments that about South Africa choking, etc., etc. See, people need to understand you choke when you are ahead in the game. South Africa never got ahead in the game. The bowling that we saw in the first 10, 12 overs was phenomenal. Hazelwood was relentless. He was not giving anything away. On top of it, you had fielders inside the circle who were not letting any ball go. So it was pretty much like a test match setup where a batter had to play probably the entire over or most balls in the over for the bowler to just dictate what he wants the batter to do.
Correct.
And yeah, and the first mistake, we were discussing in our group, like Nikhil said, the first mistake, the first risk that QDK took, he got out. And then it was a good catch by Cummings. It was a good catch by Warner of Markram. So this is not about South Africa choking. If anything, they did very well to reach to 212 after what happened in the first 10, 12 overs. You were worried that they might just get rolled up under 150.
Yeah.
So this is anything but a choke. If anything, this is a decent recovery from what happened. Some narratives are so much fed up, and then you have some ex cricketers, commentators say stuff like this, but this is not a joke. This is
No,
genuinely
it's
not
not
a
a
joke.
joke by any stretch of the imagination. And I think you're spot on because when you look at how they have their backs against the wall to at least make a fist of things right now, they've got up to 212. And let's just go back to that Hazelwood point that you were talking about. It honestly gave me vibes, Nikhil, of Glenn McGrath bowling to Gary Kirsten and Daryl Cullinan and all of those things years gone by. I mean, that's his strength. Were you surprised that he didn't finish his quota of 10 overs? Was there something there that I missed?
No, I think it is something which is why I asked Anirudh as well, the resident Aussie flag bearer, that why that didn't happen. But again, it's happened in this World Cup often now that Pat Cummins has been the guy who's been assigned himself the role of bowling at the end. Definitely could have bowled out Josh, especially versus Miller. But maybe there also the plan was, yes, we want to go down the route of bowling Zampa. I think the success that Head got made him just stick to Head, Maxwell, and Zampa, that let's go to spin and not really
Hmm.
go back to pace. Uh, Again, it's a call that hasn't cost them so far. You would probably feel that, yeah, probably a few sixes more to Zampa, but I think you will take it given the kind of day Australia have had,
Yeah.
especially the fielding. The first bit that you talked about, when you have the fielding backing you up, stopping boundaries, it is easier for the bowler to stay at that length, because then the pressure is building on the batter. The pressure is not building on the ball. If you have the ball going through the gap or not going through, your good balls going for runs, then you were suddenly looking for different options. So I think a lot of factors combined there for South Africa to have that very tough first 14, 15 overs. And I think that is what I hope they don't end up ruining it, because I don't think it was a wrong call to bat first. You saw the pitch getting better, and it was always going to be tricky. It was just that the Australian fielding up top was so good that by the time they got used to the pace or they took the first risk, they did not go their way. And Miller also had that luck when his first chip shot, it nearly fell short of, it nearly went to Josh Sands. So that's the kind of luck that you need on the big day, and Miller had it. And again, it's not the first time that it's come good for South Africa under pressure. I mean, there is a list of his top performances under knockouts, whether you take the Champions Trophy, where he got a 50. In the T20 World Cup, he had a 20 odd. In the 2015 final, he had a 49, and today he's got a 100. So, very good that he was able to get them a score, but God bless you. Now is the time to really make the most of that, of the score that they have on board.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, you've indirectly answered Kushal Shah's question here. And Kushal, thanks for your question. And all the others will keep taking them right now. And he asked your thoughts about the pitch and the toss, of course. Good to see you guys, of course, keeping your comments coming through. In fact, we have one from the Eden Gardens itself. So there, Lal, hope you're watching the game and enjoying and soaking in the atmosphere over there. It seems to be an absolute specky. And 38K, guys. So congratulations. We've got that target done. So well done. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't. And please like this particular video, because I know we made a fool of ourselves saying one like for every Bavuma score, and the guy bloody gets on the third ball or whatever the hell that happened out there. Good, Kiyat, I just want to pander to some more questions right now, because Paras making a good point over here, saying 2003 Wanderer vibes already. He feels Surya Sai, Jansen Rabada taking blessings from Shami, Jai Mata Di. But Abbas Kande saying, but can we question de Kock scoring runs on crucial moments? I know Hazlewood has got his number, I think 8 times across formats, but today, shot selection, if that went down the ground for 6, it was great. It just gave me an impression of how Rohit got out and Kane taking that catch, pretty much similar vibes, right? But are you questioning de Kock here today? And he's on mute as usual. He'll go on and on.
I have a problem with these kind of narratives and questions, because how do you say what kind of performance in a World Cup or what kind of runs are not crucial? See, at the end of the day, again, it's an example that I keep going back to. No one scored runs for South Africa in that game versus Netherlands, and they lost. Now, and had they had similar games like that, they would have lost a few more games and they would have never reached the semis. So I just have a huge problem with this narrative, which is reducing players and judging them by their performances only in knockouts. See, you need performances to reach those knockouts, so you can never say, okay, those are useless performances or whatever, right? QDK scored four goddamn hundreds in this tournament, and he scored one of them against Australia on a difficult pitch in Lucknow. He did it versus New Zealand again. It was not a straight away a flat batting wicket. He did it and he did it versus Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
Bangladesh. Yeah. So, and whenever he's not, started off well, we've seen Australia to be in a bit of trouble. They barely got past the line versus Pakistan. They were in some kind of trouble versus Afghanistan as well. So I really don't like these questions that doesn't really perform when it's mattered. You scored 400s in the World Cup. of what more can it matter. Today was a day where that wrist did not come off. It was the first wrist that went to hand. And it's not that, he wasn't trying to play out. Whether you look at RVD or whether you look at Quinton or even Makram, it is not that they were not, that they assessed the conditions wrongly. They were looking to play out that spell. I am most disappointed from RVD because he played out 30-35 balls, showed patience, and then got out playing a shot that would have hardly fetched him a run. With QDK, you can, okay, maybe he would have gotten a boundary. With Markram, you could say, had he connected it well, he would have gotten a boundary. What RVD tried to do in his dismissal is something that I couldn't really make sense of, because at max it would have fetched him a single run. So I was most disappointed with him, because that is what has also been his role, that he has to arrest the collapse.
Yeah.
So yeah, to say, oh, you want to score runs at all times at all points of time, but sometimes you will not, and it can happen.
That's why
It is.
people even question Virat, right? People question Virat as well, because sports fans saying, yeah, before yesterday, Kohli was labeled a choker and knockouts. I don't think so, because I feel like he's proved himself in knockouts. You look at Champions Trophy 2013, the 2014 semi-final against South Africa was, I think, when Virat just went
And
mad for that.
subjective, like these subjective things cannot also only be format dependent, because the same player you call a choker in ODI knockouts has done well in T20 knockouts. And it is not always knockouts which are high pressure games. The 2016 game versus Australia in Mohali or the Pakistan game in Melbourne, they are as high pressure as they can get. So I sometimes find this labels and this analysis of labeling someone as a choker or not performing under pressure, it doesn't make sense to me,
Yeah, it's
honestly.
very futile. It's futile. I agree with you. Noodle hacks with Vasan saying sorry for late joining, guys. Didn't get a notification today, unfortunately. But in preview, I said Miller is my X factor for South Africa, and Hazlewood for Australia, and Head for Australia, and Maharaj for South Africa. First innings was spot on. I feel well done. KL also was called the same, so good on Noodle hacks with Vasant, and keep up the good predictions. I think. You watching us, all the things Nikhil and Gurkirath saying is rubbing off on you, because they are absolute champs in terms of predicting things. Barring today, because I know we went for Bavuma and that was egg in our face. But apart from that, look, we're not getting things wrong. Parasora is saying counter-attacking sixes look wonderful, but don't understand why South African batsmen prefer to hit aerial under pressure when wickets are down. South Africa case in Pakistan as well. And then Rakshak saying, who holds a key for South Africa in terms of bowling? Gurkirath just shed light on it. And it's pretty much a question that Harish Kansal's asking as well, Nix. What's going to be Gerald's role in the second innings? Who's going to share the new ball? And what's going to be the modus operandi that South Africa can do? Do you think just hit, again, the good length area and then make the ball talk under the lights? And
Yeah, I mean that does seems to be the plan, and it should be with Rabada and Jansen sharing the new ball. One will get the ball to move, and one will use a short ball well as well, in terms of going back of length. So those two will definitely be there. I will not be surprised if they go to Makram also early. Again, the length just has to be spot on with Makram. Sometimes I feel he ends up trying a bit things, but I think with Head and Warner, if they are looking to break free, then him bowling well tight could really help them build pressure for the other end. So I think won't be surprised if they go to Makram also for an over and two, because he's bowled in the power play in the past. And basis that, you will probably take a call on Coates' role, because here is the game where you have a lot of options in Maharaj, Kodje, and Shamshi. But the key point here is to strike early, because if you don't strike early, no matter who you bring, they will all be under pressure to take immediate wickets. So that's where the start of Jansen and Rabada becomes very critical, and more so with Travis Head, because again he's the guy who's going to have the license that I'll keep going. So if they're able to get him out early, they might be able to go a lot of dots and create pressure, as Padi said, with pin to Marsh also. So the plans are there. You go outside of Travis Head, look to nick him off, or then go short. And same is the case with Warner. And with Marsh, you've seen him struggle versus test match lines. But it's the margin of error is going to be very small. And let's see if South Africa also get the help that it may not be as much as Australia got, but it should still have something for South Africa.
okay, indeed. Vivek Alu going on to say, please talk about Australia's approach, what Australia's approach should be to win the game. I was just going to go to that, because a lot of people feel that Smith and Manas Labuschagne, and nearly said Lanas Mabuschagne, Manas Labuschagne, will be absolutely critical in a pitch like this, Gurkirat. And I think that's also now going to be tested with the Australians, right? Whether they've got their decision right to play Labuschagne over Stoinis because runs at a premium in this pitch. Do you think Smith and Labuschagne hold the key for Australia against all the bowling and all the plans that we've been talking about that South Africa will have to offer?
Firstly, I feel playing Marnus, regardless of how he goes today, is the correct decision because of Stoinis' form with the bat
Hmm.
and the lack of usage of him as a bowler. I mean, I sort of lost faith in Stoinis after the dismissal that he had versus Afghanistan in that game. I mean, from in that situation, you cannot be attempting a reverse sweep, especially when you're not picking the player from the hand. So that is me. When it comes to that assessment, uh, see again, if you get a good start, you may not even need Marnus's batting. It depends on that. As far as their approach is concerned, if they can manage 45 for 0 in the first 10, the game would be pretty much in their grasp. And I think they will be planning to, in fact, reach 70 for 0 or 70 for 1 with Head being there because, like Nikhil said, Head will have the license. And Australia bat deep. Australia bat deeper than, Cummings is at 9, Stark is at 10. So Australia
Do you feel
bat
both
deep.
of them will have the license, not just Head, Warner and Head?
No, I think one will still, given how the conditions are, probably would look to be a little more circumspect. It's not
Mm.
that if a ball is there to be driven that they will not go after it. It's just that I don't think there will be wide swinging. That is what I feel because the game situation and everything doesn't require you to do that. Maybe if they were batting first and they felt that the pitch was something that could get slower, then maybe both would have had that license. But right now they don't need that, and they know not losing wickets in the first and will pretty much deflate the opposition anyway. So
Mm.
one will probably have the license, the other would look to bat normally. If a bad delivery is there, hit your shot. If a good delivery is there, try to keep it out.
Okay. Just by the way, reflection because Australia coming out of bat right now. If you guys needed any reminding, this is how it stands in the first innings at the halfway mark. At least 212 is what South Africa got after they were 44 for 4 in 14 overs. It was David Miller getting 101. We've seen him get 101 before in other formats. I don't want to mention who, but essentially this was his first 100 after the 2015 World Cup. It's a second ODI 100. I mean, generally, but 101 will do himself a world of good. And like I said, Stark, Cummins, and Hazlewood, absolutely brilliant. There's a David Miller stat that I just want to, of course, showcase as well. Lowest entry total for a number 5 or lower batter to a century in a World Cup. David Miller is now joining a illustrious couple of names, couple of Dave, of course. We talk about that game in Tunbridge Wells so fondly in 1983. That, of course, stays at the top. Then there's Jayawardene, who did it against Afghanistan in Dunedin 8 years ago. And then David Miller today. There's also, of course, Imran Khan and Vinod Kamli, as you can see. Just before we finish up, boys, in wrapping up proceedings, Noodle Hack's going on to say, I don't know if it is answer, but asking my question, do you think this is Miller's lifetime best innings, at least in ODIs? It's up there. I think it's up there.
Comfortably, you'd have to say
Yeah.
comfortably, given the situation, context, stage, and everything.
For sure. Kushal
I
Shah saying, I think I hope South African bowlers will get more help from the wicket considering they're bowling under lights. Do you think that's a big factor, Gurkirat, right now?
See, they should get help, but then again, Australia know the score that they have to get, so they can afford to play them out. If this was 250, then then there would have been some scoreboard pressure as well. Right now, it's not there. So,
Hmm.
despite the help, you'd see at this point of time, you'd want to be in the Aussie camp than the South African camp for sure.
So who are you backing? I know you said India Australia final. You're sticking with that, and then there's an India South Africa final as well that's predicted by Nick. So who? Oh, first ball and he's had a poke at it. Insane. So
Yeah,
what's
I
happening,
don't know.
guys? How's it going
I,
to be again? Imagine like it's Josh
I'm
Hazlewood
you know
and
I'm
say someone else, and someone gets run out of the last ball.
I'm very split in terms of who I want to go through because see, you want South Africa to be there because if India don't win, you'd be happy. Okay, South Africa has won. This is a team that deserve to win something, in so many years because of the sheer quality that they have had in a long time. But if Australia's there, then you really want India to win because the 7-year-old me in the 7-year-old me from 2003 will probably have that redemption. So it's
The
it's just
the
that.
smaller teddy bear that you were, 7 years old, watching that
No,
game.
I think when I was 7, I was definitely more of a teddy bear in terms of how I was. But yeah,
Okay,
it's
super. And
kind
Noodle Hacks is again pinging me saying, please ask my question. Nick, just keep it short because, of course, I don't want this to be a watch along. Would you front load your bowling right now? That's his question essentially.
Yeah, 100%. There is no other option for you.
Sorry, that just was perilously close to the off stump. Look, I'm watching it live, and I know you guys are kind of maybe behind me because people might be watching it with regards to Hotstar, whatever. Final question, Nick. You have the say. Nikhil Bhai still sticking with India South Africa final then?
Yeah,
Yes.
hopefully. A good
Bharosa.
one wicket win.
Nikhil prediction नहीं change करता. Nikhil when it comes to prediction is like Salman Khan from Wanted. एक बारी मैंने prediction दे दी फिर मैं खुद की भी नहीं सुनता.
Okay, let's see how it all unfolds, guys. 4 for none so far, 3 balls into the second innings, and of course, we'll give you the match review in just a bit. I mean, Travis Head is flirting with danger already. It's going to be a fantastic run chase, this, even though it's just 213. Only time will tell who, of course, joins India in the final on Sunday. We'll, of course, review it post match. Thanks so much for watching. Please like this video just before you leave. It'll mean a lot to us. Please, for the love of God and South Africa, and not the rain interrupting, and a great cracking game ahead. That's all we have. Thanks for watching. Goodbye from us.
Cheers, pretty friend.